Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be building this mobile application. Regardless of your skill set, everything here is well explained and you can follow along. You can perform actions such as liking a particular property and you can view a particular property. And for the back button, we can actually click to go back, or you can just drag to close the screen. If you're new to this channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I release videos like this. To get started, I've prepared two images of the screens we're going to create. The first thing we need to do is to select the frame and click on iPhone 16 Pro. Once we have this screen, the next thing is to add the status bar. Let's go to Assets and search for Status. Now drag the first option here and drop it inside this frame. I'm going to center align this and make sure that this is starting at the top. The next thing is to create a search bar. I'm going to hit letter F on my keyboard to create a frame. Now with this frame selected, I'm going to hit this icon here to add a stroke. Here I'm going to set this to E4, EC, E7 as my stroke color. So now let's adjust the height of this to 58, and then the corner radius, I'm going to set that to 58 as well so that we can get this rounded corner. I'm going to drag this to the top and make sure that the space between this my item and this is 20. I think I got that right. So try to make sure that the spacing between them is 20. And to do that, while selecting this item, you can press Option if you're on Mac, and then if you're on Windows, press Alt. So now I'm going to change the width of this to 362 and then center align this my item. The next thing here is to add the text. So I'm going to hit letter T, start your search. For this, I'm going to set the size of this to 14 pixels, and then the font weight, I'll maintain the semi-bold. Then let's add the icon. I'm going to click on the action button here, and then let's search for phosphor icon. Now I'm going to select this, and then in here I'm going to type search. So make sure you change this from regular to bold, and we can drag this and drop it inside this frame. So for this, I'm going to resize this to 14 pixels. So looking at this now, while I'm seeing this name here, it means this item is not inside this iPhone 14 container. So you can press Command X or Control X, select this, and then paste this here. So now, once it's inside this, you're not going to see the name. Here, I'm going to select this item and hold Shift to select this other item. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that this is center aligned and the spacing between them should be 4. Now drag this and drop this inside this our frame. Once this is inside, we can align this to center and also vertically. So now we have the first section of our app. So the next thing here is to create this menu items. While this is still open, I'm going to make sure that this is changed to light. So I'm going to search for 3 and I'll drag this and drop this here. The next thing is city and I'll drop this here. And we have, let's search for cup, drag this and drop this here. Pool, drag and drop. Then we have, let's say, country. Let's just drag this and drop this here. So now what I'm going to do is to select outside this frame and then change the color of this. So I have item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to drag and take this outside. So let me align this using this icon here. So the next thing is to select this other icon and then distribute this horizontally. While I have this, I'm going to use this icon to create a component set. So this is going to be our house type icons. While I have this, I can close this item here. So I can hit this art set and I have the house type icons. So I'll drag this here. But before I continue, I'm going to select this, press enter or return if you're on Mac. It's going to select all those icons here and I'm going to change the size to 28. So this is also going to be changed to 28. The next thing is to hit letter T on your keyboard to add the text. So this is going to be tropical. So for the size of this, I'm going to make sure this is 13 and this is going to be medium. So that's for this. I'm going to select this item again. For the line height, I'm going to set that to 130. Make sure that you're using percentage. So now we have item 1 and item 2. So I'm selecting this using Shift. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. At this point, I'm going to reduce the spacing between them to 0. Now we need this icon here to indicate that this is active. So press R on your keyboard, then drag to create this particular item. I'm going to make sure that the height of this is 2, and then let's set the fill to dark. So now for these are items, I'm going to select this and make sure that I'm using the hug content. Don't worry about that. Then for the text, make sure you're selecting the text and let's use this auto width. So here I'm going to select item 1 and item 2. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. So now we have our item. This is 56. And then for this our item here, let's select this whole container here and say this is going to be hug content. Now I'm going to adjust the size of this to 4. Let's see, 12 should look good. So I have my first item, which is this. I'm going to convert this to a component. So, but before I continue, I'll select this text here and then let's create a property for this. Then I'll hit this and then call this label. Once I have this, I'm going to select this item and then create a variant of this. So this is going to be inactive. So while selecting this, scroll down and change this to 69. Just add 69, press enter. It's going to be 696969. So for the inactive, I'm going to make sure that hold shift or double click to select this, and then let's hide this for the inactive. Now we've created this item. So to use this in our design, I'm going to go back to assets, make sure that we're dragging, let's rename this here house type menu. So we have a house type menu. I'm just going to drag and then drop this somewhere here. So this is going to be tropical, which is the first one. Command D here. We can go to labels and set top cities. So we have this. Then I can double click to select this, and we can use this here and select city. So this is going to change that. And for this, we can change the variant to inactive. So we have this. So I can command D to duplicate this, command D again, and command D. So we have 5. So this, I'm going to change this to bed and breakfast. So we can change the icon by double clicking on this, and I'll look for cup. Okay, this is coffee. So we have the coffee. So I'm going to drag this here. So for this other one, it's going to be amazing pools. So I'll change that. So double click here and we can change this to swimming pool. So for this last item here, this is going to be countryside. countryside, and double click to select this icon here, and we can change this to windmill. So we have all our items. I'm going to select this by holding shift, and I'll select every item here, shift A, to put them in an auto layout. So the spacing between them, let's try 16 and see. That looks great. That is 18, sorry. So let's make that 24. We need good spacing between them. So we have this, and this is looking great. So I have item 1, 2, and 3. I want them to be in one frame. So I'm going to select this, hold shift, select this, and select this again. So right click, and we can frame our selection. So now let's select this item, press shift and the space bar on your keyboard. So this is going to open this other screen where we can preview what we are doing. So here I want to make sure that we can scroll this horizontally. So the first thing I need to do is to make sure I'm changing the width of this to 362 here. So now we can center this item here. So let me select this again, and for this our container here, so make sure that this is 402. I will have to align these items manually. I'll select them individually and just center them here after changing that. For this our item here, the height of this, I'll change that to 200. 200. So once we have 200, we can select this and use this icon here. Once you do that, we can then select this our main container and add a stroke to this. This time I'm going to add the stroke to bottom. Here we can use the 6.9 for this. If I zoom in, you see my stroke here. I'm going to change this from inside to outside. You see, then it's outside. If you do this, this is what we want. So for this 6.9, I think this is looking too, so let's use EE here for that. So this looks great. Or we can actually use the same stroke we used here, just to maintain the same design. So I'm going to select this and change the stroke color to this. So now I think the spacing between this is 13, but it's fine. We can just manage that since this is 200. So the next thing is to create this card section. I'm going to hit letter F on my keyboard to create a frame. So this frame, the width is going to be 362 and the height, I'm going to set that to 306. So we can just quickly fill this, which I actually don't want to do that, but then let's just fill that. So I'm going to set that to F9, press enter. It's going to generate the remaining ones for you. Let's set the corner radius here to 16, and we have this. Now I'm going to click on the action button here. Let's go to plugins and search for Unsplash. Now click this and let's wait for the plugin to load. So house in bush, something like this, and we have the same exact result. So I'm going to make sure you're selecting this particular frame we've created, and this is going to be our new background. That's this item here. So the next thing we need to add is the guest favorite here. Hit letter T on your keyboard. This is going to be guest favorite. Now press shift A to add this to an auto layout. So now let's change the color of the text here to dark. So I'm going to use 00. This is dark. So now this has an auto layout that we can fill. Once you've done that, I'm going to change the color. I'll just simply pick this here. So that's E8, E8, E8. Then let's add a stroke of white to this, FF, and I'll set that to 1.5. Now let's add the corner radius for this. I'm going to set that to, let's say, 30. So for this design here, I want to set this to, let's say, 16. That's spacing on the left and right. Then for the top and bottom here, so I'll set this to 9. So once I have this, now we can make some adjustment here. If I change this to 22, not percent. Let's remove the percent here. Then I can have something like this. And let's reduce this here, 5. So we have our guest favorite here. So the next thing is to add the heart icon. So we can close this and go back to the action button. Use your first 4 icon and let's search for heart. So for the heart, I'm going to change this to dot tone. So now I'm going to drag this and drop this here. So drag this, make sure it's inside this, and I'm going to set the size of this to 28. And for this, hold Command and Shift, then select this inner section of this. Let me close this so you can see properly. Let's go to Files. So for this dot tone, we have double of this heart. So the next thing we need to do after selecting this first item, let's select this here, the one at the bottom here. So you check the appearance, you notice that this is 20%. Let's increase this to 50%. Let me just type that here. So this is going to be a much darker. Then if we select the outer layer, we can then change the fill to white. And we have this. So for this, we want this to want to add some little prototype into this. When the user click, it should change to red. So we can then drag this item here, the heart. I can drag that and then drop this outside here. So the next thing you need to do is to convert this to a component. Once you do that, we have this option here to create a variant. So for the variant, I'm going to click this and let me change the color to red. So I can pick any of the red here. So don't worry about that. If you double click, make sure you're selecting the one at the top here. And you can change this. Let me select this other one and see. At the bottom, we can change this to 100% from 50. Then we have this. From here, we can just quickly select this, hit the prototype button here, drag and point to this here. No need, it should be instant. Change to, do the same thing, return the favor here, and we have this. So at this point, let's go to assets and search for heart. So we can just drag the heart and drop this here. If you select this item, press Shift and the space bar, we should be able to have this interaction here for this particular item we just added. So I'm going to select this item 1 and item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure that the size of this here, let's do this. Let me adjust this properly. 362. So I'll center this minus 32 here. So let's see. Yeah. Okay, but actually I want this to be 14. So let's increase this 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to center this, press this, we have 14. 1, 2, 3, press this, we have 14. So to see this space in this line, I use the Option or Alt if you're on Windows. Now we have this first section of our card. The next thing is this inner items here. That's the indicators. So I'm going to hit letter R on my keyboard to add a rectangle. So click and drag this. So this, I can make this, let me close this first. Let's say this is 6 and let's make that white. Here, corner radius, let's say this is 6 as well. If I zoom in, here we have this item. So the next thing, Command D to duplicate this. This next item, make this 5.5. And I'm going to Command D, I'll make this 5. Command D, I'll make this 4.5. Command D, and this is going to be 4. And we can stop here. So select item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shift A, put them in an auto layout. Let's check the spacing, reduce that, and let's go 4. So every other item here, I'm going to set that to gray. So let's use E here. Good. Let's make that a bit darker, much more darker. So E2, E2, E2. Then we have our active item here. You see it's looking nice over here. So if I select this item, let's just align this to the center of this. If I try to move this card, everything is inside this card. So we're done with the content of this. Let's add the body text. The next thing I need to do is to hit letter T on my keyboard. Let's add the Lake Valencia here, comma, Nigeria. So now let's add some testing to this. Now for this, I'm going to set that to 15 pixels, and then we can go back to 130%. Make sure you're adding the percentage there, and this is fine. So for the next subheading here, so I will press Command D to duplicate this, and the next thing I'm going to reduce this to, let's set this, adjust this to 15, and for this I'm going to set that to 13. Here this is going to be our subheading, which is like 3,043 kilometers away. So let me fix this here, away. So then we need to add when this is going to be available. So this is June 1, 2, space 6. So we have that. Then the next thing is to add the price, Command D. So this is $1182. So I'm going to select this other item, Command D. So double click for 5 nights. Now let's quickly change the colors of those items here. So for this here and this and this, so this we're going to change the color to 69, like so. So for this price here, hold Command U to underline this, or Control U to underline. So I'm going to select item 1, 2, 3, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. I'm going to change the spacing between them to 2. Then for item 1, this one and this, hold Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Make sure they are centered. For this item, instead of medium, this is going to be regular. So for 5 nights, so we can drag this here. So we have our grouped item. Hold Shift to select this, Shift A to also put this in an auto layout. The next thing is to add the star rating here. So instead of using the icon, I'm just going to select this, hit the star, and hold Shift to create this star here. Once I do that, there's this zoom in to see this. So I'll just click and then drag this something like this here, and that's good for me. So lock this, make sure this is 14, and I'll change the color to black. Then I'm going to add my text here, T. It's going to be 5.0, and I'm going to change this to 15. So there's 2 items. Hold Shift to select this, Shift A, put them in an auto layout. The spacing between them, I'll make sure that this is 4. So now I have item 1 and item 2, Shift A, put them in an auto layout, and let's change the width to 362. And the spacing between them is auto, which is perfect. Now we can group this item to create our card. Item 1, hold this, Shift A to put that in an auto layout. So we have our card. What I'm going to do is to check the spacing between this. 18 looks great for me. So I'm going to close this, and let's come back in here. So I'm going to rename this item to card. Once I do that, we can just right click, and then we can rename layers using the AI. So this is going to rename everything for me. So now it's going to close this. You see I have all of this and it has been properly renamed. So it's easy now. I can just duplicate this and create other items. So now I'm going to drag this down so it can accommodate at least 3 more items. Select this, Command D here, and Command D again, and Command D. So let's hold Shift and select each of this item. Press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Let me close this. So the spacing between them, I'll go with 34 each. So now let's simply change the images here. So click on the action button and let's go to Unsplash. So same house in bush. So now we just need to take our time to look for the appropriate images that we can use. I think I like this, so I'll hold shift and I'll select this. So make sure that this is loaded before you can select the next item. That is not visible, so let's look for something different to replace this. So let's try this here. That looks great. So I'll hold this, double click to select this item. Let's also try this other house here. So now we have all of this. So we have one last item, which I'm going to use this here. So with the help of the Figma AI, I can select this item here and rewrite content. So while selecting this particular group, hit the action button and replace content. So here, just press tab on your keyboard, fill in realistic content, then let's replace content and wait for this to generate the appropriate names. So here you see, it has done this and we have different names and location here. I'll select this iPhone 16, press shift, and let's make sure that we can actually scroll this. But this is the behavior we want. Once you select this, we want this to be fixed. So once the user is scrolling, we want this. So now this particular group, I'll go back to design and make sure that it is filled. Once this is filled, I come back in here. You see, I can scroll with this. So now make sure you do this. We're going to select this item and let's adjust the size of this to fit into this here. So the whole frame, let's come back here, 87874. So we have this. So if I try to scroll at this point now, this is not going to scroll. So here, select this item. You see, it's been extended to this end. Go back to prototype and we can set our vertical scrolling. So once you see this indicator, you have to come to the bottom here, drag this to somewhere here. So now I can select this my item and I can scroll to the last item here. So if you notice, we have some issues here at the bottom. Let me just increase this and we need to set this straight here. So I'll go back to design. So this is the mistake we made here. For this, it's going to be toward the left hand side here. That's the alignment instead of centered. So every other one here, it's because of the size. That's why it's not being affected. So here, I'll just make sure that this is left aligned. So I'll select this and change this back to 874. So having this, we can just scroll between all of these options. To complete this page, we need to add the navigation bar at the bottom here. So I'm going to close this and let's hit this action button, use the first 4 icon, and I'm going to search for search. So this time, this is going to be regular and I'll drag this and drop this here. So I'm going to search for heart. Same thing, drag and drop this here, same regular. We have that here. Let me just drag that somewhere here. I don't know why they are inside that other frame. So the next thing here is strip here, strip. So I'm going to drag this and drop this here. Then we have message. So I'm going to grab this here. Then we have the user. I'm going to drag this here. So I have all of those items here. So what I'm going to do is to highlight and select everything together. Do this and let's do the horizontal spacing. Now I can change that to 20. So the next thing to do is to create a component set. So this is going to be my menu icons here. So we need to create this menu bar. The next thing to do, I'm going to close this and let's go to add sets and let's look for the menu icons. So now after adding this item, I'll hit letter T on my keyboard and then add Explorer. So drag this and then close to this item here. So I'll press letter I. Let me pick this color from this here. So I'm going to show you the color so you can use the same. It's E81948. So I'm going to apply the same color to the user here. Copy, select this, and I'm going to paste that here. So I have this item. I'm going to select this, hold shift, press shift A to put them in an auto layout. Now the spacing between them, let's see, 4 looks great. So this is going to be menu. Here, press enter. So now we need to create this other one here. So I will convert this to a component. Then let's change this to label. So let's add this property, plus sign. This is going to be label. Press enter. Now select this and then let's add this item here. Now let's completely change this color to 69, then press enter. So at this point we have two variants, and this is going to be inactive. Scroll to the top. This is inactive. So but before we continue, let's just do one thing. Select the text, use the matching layers, and let's make sure that this is automatic. That's the width. And we can select this, use matching layers, and make sure that we are hugging the content. So this is great. So I'm going to press F on my keyboard, drag this, and I'll drop it in here. Not inside this. Let me Command X. Let's just drop it inside this frame. I'll censor this, make sure it's at the bottom, and make sure that it's covering everywhere here. So the height of this, I'm going to set that to 86. 1, 2, here. So make sure that this is aligned at the bottom here. So once this has been set, the next thing I need to do is to just arrange my menu items. So all I need to do is to drag this and then drop this here. So I have explore, Command D, I'll drag this. So I'm going to make sure I change this to inactive. So double click to select this user here. So for wish list, I'm going to look for heart. So we can select this item, change this to wish list. Then the next thing, we select this Command D, and I'm going to change this to trips. Then for this here, we can change the icon. Double click to select this, and I'm going to change the icon to road horizon. So double click, Command D, drag this. This is going to be messages. And we can double click, and I'm going to change this to look at chat centered. Last here, Command D, it's profile. So this is going to be profile. And the spelling is wrong. Profile. So double click here, and we can change this to user. So I can come in here, hold shift, select this item, shift A to put them in an auto layout. This looks great already. So make sure that, let me arrange this here. This is 1, 2 here. I'll align this here. So spacing, press this to the top is going to be 8. So we can select this item here and add, let's say EEE for our stroke. Sorry, I'm going to add a stroke. Make sure that this is only at the top. Then I'm going to set that to EEE, and the stroke is going to be 1.5. Once I have this, the next thing is to just search for home indicator. So let me close this here, and now I have this. Drag this here, Command X, and I can select this, Command V, paste that, arrange it somewhere at the bottom here. We now have our home indicator here. So this is looking great. So the next thing is to jump and start building this second section. Then we can prototype this. So the next thing is to change the icon here. So we can double click to select this icon. Then we can change this to search. So this is the magnifying glass here. So now we have the explore icon properly. So I'm going to drag this item here and drop this so that we can create the second section of our application. To create the second item here, I'll hit this icon here, frame, and choose the same iPhone 16 Pro. Now I'm going to drag this and drop it here. Then I'll grab this particular item. So double click to select, Ctrl C or Command C to copy, then paste this here. Now what we need to do is to change the width of this to 402. Then I'm going to double click on this image section, and to make sure that I'm changing or removing this corner radius, set that to 0. Now we can do away with these two items here on our screen. So we need to add the navigations here at the top. I'm going to hit letter F on my keyboard to add a frame. So I'll drag to have this. Then I'm going to fill this by pressing this icon here. So I have this, my item. I'm going to set this to 42, but before I do that, I'll lock this, then change this to 42. Now I'm going to then add a corner radius of 42 again as well, so that we can get this rounded corner. The next thing is to add the icon. I'm going to hit the action button here and then use our first for icon. Once this is loaded, I'm going to type back here. That's for the back button. Let's use arrow here, arrow back. That should give us a better option. So arrow left. Good. So drag, I'll drop this here. So just select this, press Command X or Control X. Double click to make sure we're selecting this. I'm going to paste this inside, then align this item. The next thing is to change the size of this to 20, and I'm going to still realign this again. So we have the back navigation. I'm going to Command D to duplicate this, and then Command D again. So we have two of this. The next icon is the heart icon. So I'm going to search for heart. We can then drag this and drop this here, and I'll do the same thing here. So I'm going to drag this and drop this here as well. For this, I can select the heart, Command X to cut, or Control X if you're on Windows. Delete this and paste this here. Now we can change the size of this to 20. Then you can align this here. The next thing is to do the same thing with this, Command X or Control X. Double click to select this, delete it, and I'm going to paste this here. Align this, let's resize this to 20. And I'll just align this item. So we have this two item. Select this by holding Shift, then press Shift A to put that in an auto layout. The spacing between them, I'll set that to 12. And here for the width, I'm going to change that to hot content. So I'm going to drag this and drop this somewhere here. And I'll do the same thing for this. I'll drag and drop this somewhere here. So we can select item 1 and item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. And for the width of this, I'm going to set that to 362. Then we can align this. So the first thing I want to do is to detach this from this item here. So we can select this, right click, and ungroup these items here. So this, it's on its own now, so I can move this around. So for this item here, if you look at this, I'm going to right click here. Let's say I'm going to ungroup this, ungroup, because I need to take this away. And let's see this group here. So I'm having this group that contains this location and this price tag here. So here, let me select this Command D to duplicate this item here. So I'm going to type in house the grando, comma, then I'm going to press enter, quadrix, comma, grand here. So let's change the size of this to 20 pixels, and I'm just going to increase the width of this. Now for this is fine, and this is also looking fine. So item 1 and 2 here, while holding Shift, I'll just drag them here. So they are no longer part of the group. So for this item here, we need these two items, 1 and 2, to be in the same group. So what I'm going to do is to select this again, right click, and ungroup these items. I'll do the same thing was last time, ungroup, and we have them individually now. So this item and this item. So hold shift and select this, press shift A to put this two in an auto layout. Then I can select 1, 2, shift A to put them in an auto layout. Then you can change the weight of this to 402. That's to cover everywhere. Center align this, then give this a margin of 20, and it's still going to be fine depending on your knowledge of auto layout. So let's reduce the spacing between them here. So we can reduce this to, let's go 8, and this is great. Then for this two as well, I'm going to reduce the spacing between them. So let's say 4. So I can just click this and then push this somewhere here to the top. So once we have this section here, the next thing is to add a line underneath this. So now I'll show you an easier way to do that. So while selecting this, we can add margin at the top. So let's make this 12. So once this is 12, we can just make sure we push this to the top till it aligns with this image here. Then we can hit on the stroke here. Now the stroke here should be only at the bottom. Then we can change that. Let's use 69, which is going to be much darker. I'll just use F2 like this. Yeah, that's manageable. So let's just make it more darker. So I'm using the down arrow on my keyboard to just change this as a group. So it's just going to, if you're going down, it's making it darker. You press the up direction, it's going to make it lighter. So now we have this. The next thing is to add this host information. So I'll hit letter R on my keyboard and then create a rectangle. So this, I'm going to lock this and make sure that this is 60 by 60. Then the corner radius, I'll make this 60. The next thing is to add the host information. So T here, hosted by iCode, like so. Then I'm going to change the size of this to, let's say 17, and I'm going to maintain the semi-bold for this. So I'll drag this and drop this somewhere here. Then the next thing, let's see. Okay, this looks a little bit bigger than what I'm seeing here, so let's make that 17. And this looks great, so I can make this, instead of semi-bold, change that to medium. Then the next thing is to add the T here, another text. Press letter T on your keyboard. Superhost minus 10 years hosting. So the next thing is to change the color. I'm using 69, then press enter. So we're going to change the size of this to 14, and it's going to be regular. So we have this item here. So I'm going to select this, hold shift to select this other item, press shift A to put this two in an auto layout, and let's change the spacing between them to 8. Now we have our item 1, 2, then we just need this third item here. I'm going to hit the action button here, then go to phosphor icon. Let's search for verify, like so. Then I'm going to select the field and I'll drag this and drop this here. So I need to change the color of this, and I need to make sure that this is inside this container. So Command X to cut this, or Control X, select the iPhone 16 Pro and then paste this here. So now if it's anywhere, you can just drag it, make sure it's here. So for this item 1 and 2, I'm going to press Shift A to group them together. Make sure that the spacing between them here, I'll set that to 12. Then this can come in here now. Select this, Shift A to put that in an auto layout as well. So the width of this is going to be 362. So I'm going to press enter. Then for the spacing between them, we're going to set that to auto. Pushes that to the end so we can arrange this. So we only need the image of the host. So now I'll select these two items, drop them outside for the time being, and then let's add the other information. Now I'm going to hit letter T on my keyboard. This is going to be facilities and equipments. So from this now we can change the size of this to 17, and I'm going to use semi-bold for this. Semi-bold. Then I'll change the color as well to 69. So drag this and drop it somewhere here. So once we've added this, then we need some icons here. So before I close this, let me make sure that this is back to regular. Let's search for trophy, and I'll drag and drop this here. So the next thing is search for pack, like so. I'll drag and drop this, and the last item there is pool. So you can search for pool, and I'll drag and drop this here. So once we have all of this, let me just drag these items here. I'm going to drag the icons here. So this is the one I'm interested in. So I'll just drag and drop this here. So we have 10% of homes. So I have this text pasted somewhere here. So let me just grab this, my text, and I'll bring this here. So this is just to save time. So I'm going to drag this 10% of homes. I'll just drag and drop this here. So let me double click here to make sure that this is proper. So the next thing we need to do here is to make sure that this is 15, and I'm going to make this semi-bold. Okay, let's make that bold. Then the text here, I'll just grab and drop this here. So this is going to be 14 as well. Then this, I'm going to make sure that this is medium. So that's already set to that. So now I can just adjust this a little. So this item 1 and 2, I'll press Shift A to put them in an auto layout, and the spacing between them here, I'll make sure that this is set to 4. And for the height here, if we just set that to hug content, let me select this here. For this, I'll just make sure that this is hugging the content. So we have this. Now item 1 and item 2, press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. But this time we want to align this to top so we can get something like this. So the spacing between them here, I'm going to increase this to 16, and it looks like this. So now I'll do that for the other items. So I'll just grab this here, drop this somewhere here, select this, Command D, drag this. The first thing I need to change is the icon. So I'll press Command X, select this, paste this, and then push it to this end and delete this. So I'll grab this. So grab this and I'll delete this and paste this here. So let me just show you a quick trick here. So you can select this. We have copy here. So we can just copy properties and select this item, right click, and we can paste here. So let's see, paste properties. We should have that here. So there's a shortcut for that. So once I have that, let me see, is this on one line? No, it's not. So we need to adjust this. So I'll make sure that the width of this is 362 here. So I'll align this, make sure the same for this 362, and I'll align this here. So for our text in here, this container that I'm selecting, I'll make sure that this is filling the whole container. So I can just fix it even if it's not been affected. Set this to fill the container. So, and I can grab my text here, Command C to copy, and I'll paste this here. So I'll do the same thing, Command D to duplicate, drag this here, and I'll select the swimming pool, Command X, and I can paste this icon, paste this here, and I'll delete this park icon. Now I'm going to copy this and paste this here. Okay, this is the title here, copy and paste. So I can select this. There's a shortcut for that, copy properties. So if I select this, I can just paste properties like so. So this is great. So I'm going to copy this other text and paste this here. So now we have all our items ready except for the button, which is this. So all I need to is to just grab this container we are having here, and I can paste this directly here. So it should be somewhere at the bottom, and I need to remove this item here. So we already have our price, so I'll just drag the price and drop it inside this container at the bottom. So I can then do away with Okay, we still need this command. Okay, I'll just copy the text and then delete this. So here I can select this item. I believe it was initially grouped, so we can change the direction to this. So here we say 5 nights. Then I'm going to double click to paste my text here, the one I copied. So we need to change the size of this. So for this here, the size is going to be set to 16 pixels, 16, and then this is going to be bold. Then for this, let me push this here. For this, let's set that to 13. That's perfect. So here, make sure this is aligned to the center like so. Then I can add a button here. So letter F on my keyboard. Then we can add reserve. So set the height here to 48. And I'm going to fill this here. So I'm using the same pink color. So I'll use this. That's E5 1D4F for this. Then the corner radius will be set to 8 like this. Then I can drag this and align this to center. I'm going to select item 1 and 2, Shift A to put them in an auto layout. Push this to the top a little like this, and make sure that the spacing here, let me see, always like to set that here to 12 or 8. Then I'm going to add my text inside this container letter T. That's going to be reserved. So here I can set that to 15. Let's make that 16. Let's make it medium or semi-bold. That looks better. Then we have our reserve. So item 1, 2, 3, 4. We can press Shift A to put them in an auto layout. I'll just try to align them properly here. So for these are items, make sure it's having this particular width and I can align them properly in here. So the next thing is to change the color of this. So I'll double click, press I on your keyboard, and let's select this. But if you mistakenly select this item, one easy way to change the color is to select this, go to your selection color and just pick a color here, and I can close this. Once we have this, I'm going to just make sure I'm changing this icon here. That's the image. I'll hit this. Let's go to Unsplash plugins and search for Unsplash. I'll press enter and I'll just look for an image and replace this gray box. So here I'm just going to search for host and then use any image there. So I'll hold shift, I'll select this particular item, then I'm going to add this image there. So I can close this and review this. Okay, this looks the same to me. Just delete this here. I'll do the same thing for this. Are we missing anything here? It's the same, so I'm going to delete this. So for our resources, I'll just drag and drop this here, and then I'll do the same thing for this, drag and drop this here. So let's quickly prototype these two items here. So now let's group these items. I want item 1 and 2, these two, Shift A to put them in an auto layout so the spacing between them is 0. So item 3 and 4, Shift A, and let's maintain 24 for this. Then the spacing here, I'll press up, 24, and for this whole option to see the spacing between them, I'll press up to make sure that the spacing between them is 12. That looks fine by me. So if I select this, I'm going to press Shift and the space bar to bring this, and let's search this, scroll this and see. So we have this, but you notice that there are some text that are hidden. So I'm going to select, double click to select this particular item, that's this auto layout, and we can drag this to somewhere here. So this time again, if I scroll, I should be able to see this particular text here. So now if the user then hit on this button or hit on this card, that's this first card, it should open this page. So let's go to prototype. I'm going to drag this and point to this section here. So now for the settings here, this is going to be sliding, and let's try this and see. So but this time we want this to come from the bottom. So let me select this item here. Let's hit this again. We have this. So now let's just add some more settings. So once you click on this, you still get this screen here. So we can make that slow and see how it's going to look. Slow, that looks cool. So if you press this, we want this to be able to go back. So I'm going to double click here and just drag this facing outside here. Then you get this arrow. Make sure you're pointing to that particular arrow. So now if I hit this, let me select this item, open this, and if I hit this, this is going to close. Then I'll do this again. Another thing again here I would like us to do is to make sure that, let me go to design. Let me select this item. I think it was not initially grouped. So item 1 and item 2, let me press Shift A to just group them. So I want it in such a way that when the user drags this item, it should go back. So after grouping this, I'll just go to prototype and here and make sure we're pointing to this. But for this now, it's going to be on drag. So now I'm going to come back in here and I'll try this. So I'll try to drag this. You see, I'm dragging this. And if I select this, if I drag this, looks cool. Let me just drag that and it's going to close this particular screen. If you like tutorials like this, please kindly hit the subscribe button so you get notified when I release new videos. Bye for now.